Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to revisit a build which I already covered like 3 months ago in this channel, and it was about the healing Scourge for War vs World because the Scourge was changed and I wanted to try an healing build for Scourge in War vs World. I had tried Celestial and some different traits, but after a bit of playing I came up with this build for now, which is a full minstrel Scourge, meaning that you will have toughness, vitality, healing power and concentration. You run superior rune of the monk because we need the healing. And then we have sigil of life and energy on the greatsword, and on the axe we run frenzy for additional skill spam, and also on the focus we run superior sigil of energy. And everything is on minstrel. Ignore the infusions because they are from other builds which are DPS builds, and I use the precise War vs World infusions. As a relic we run Relic of the Flock, which gives us an additional barrier to us and also to our allies once every 10 seconds, meaning that once every healing skill you use. Let's take a look at the trait and the skills. We run Spite, Soul Reaping and Scourge. On Spite we run the cooldown for focus and axe, cooldown recharge. Then we have a Boon Rip on Spinal Shiver, Lesser Spinal Shiver, and then we get Spiteful Spirit. Whenever we enter Shroud we will remove 1 boon, and if the enemies around us which get hit from this skill are below 50% health, they get 2 boons removed. So it's very nice Boonstrip. On Soul Reaping we get Speed of Shadows because we don't run stuff, so we don't need soul marks. So this is an additional cleanse for ourselves when we enter Shroud with the F5. Then we get Vital Persistence, some additional tankiness, and then also Eternal Life to get more protection and also more life force continuously, which we need a lot of life force. On the Scourge we get Abrasive Grit, then Sandstorm Shroud, which I will explain in a second, and then we also get Desert Empowerment, which means that whenever we give an ally a barrier we also grant alacrity, and this includes ourselves. So why does this build work? Well, this build has an insane amount of barrier output and also a very decent, more than decent strip output together, and all the tankiness. You are very tanky, you won't die a lot with this build, you almost all the time alive, you are the last to die if your Zerg wipes. And also, since the Scourge was nerfed in the damage, everybody plays Reaper now, which deals more damage and similar strips, if not better. So I just came up with this build, which means you can be alive, the damage loss is not insane because the Scourge even on Zerker is not the best damage, and the amount of support you provide to your party is insane. And don't forget that this build has not a very good amount of cleanses, and also it doesn't heal. It applies a lot of barrier and some alacrity. So you cannot replace Druid or Scrapper or Heal Vindicator or Tempest with this. This is not a secondary support, but as you might already have seen, every group now has the Firebrand, which is the main support. Then you have the secondary support, which is the Druid, Tempest, Heal Vindicator, and also the Scrapper. And then there's always another support, which can be a Chronomancer or like some Spellbreaker or whatever else. So this is the third support. And then the other 2 people in the party are usually a DPS. Let's take a look at the skills. So your F1 applies like 2k and 2 of barrier with the current traits and gears, which is very nice since it has no very high cooldown, 15 seconds, and you can stack up to 3 charges, so you can stack up a lot of barrier. Your F2, you convert a condition on nearby allies into a boon, which is nice, 2 conditions actually, so it's a nice support. The F3 is one of your best skills because it's instant and you will give 4k of barrier. You press it, free 4k of barrier for you and your allies. 4k is a lot, you will see why. Then here we have the life force cost 3k and some damage and some fear, nice CC but only on 2 targets. And then we have the F5, which is changed by this trait right here. So you press the F5 and you will pulse barrier on you and on your allies around you, and also alacrity. And at the end there will be an explosion which will convert boons to conditions on enemies, and also grant protection on your allies and apply a final barrier which is like 3k of barrier. So it's very good. Like, let's take a look at this guy. F1 barrier, F1 more barrier, F1 more barrier. Keep in mind that barrier lasts 5 seconds and cannot exceed the half of the maximum health point. So like now you are 28k, you cannot go beyond 14k barrier, but it's not so hard because you have the F3, the F5 which pulses barrier and gives more barrier at the end. You have your healing skill, and as you see I am at maximum barrier. The healing skill will give 3k and a half barrier to allies, and also with the relic of the flock you will give like 3 more k when you press your healing skill, which has 30 seconds cooldown, but still you have alacrity, a lot of alacrity, since you have a lot of barriers. So this healing skill will be shorter cooldown than you think. Then as utility skills I run the Well of Darkness, but I think it can be changed. I like it because it applies blindness and chill, and so it's a very good CC against enemies. It is not unblockable like the other wells, so this is the only downside of this skill. You can maybe change it to something like Trail of Anguish or maybe the Well of Power. Then we run Surf and Siphon, which gives Aegis and regeneration in an area, big area, to you and your allies, and also will convert a boon to conditions on the enemies and will apply like 3k of barrier to everyone. Keep in mind that these numbers you see are pumped by our Superior Sigil of Life, which works on the barriers. Keep in mind that barriers is not affected by any healing modifier, it is only affected by the healing power. Then as last utility skill we run Well of Corruption because it is an unblockable AoE corrupt. It's one of the best skills in the game and you should run it. Then we have Ghastly Breach, which is your elite skill, which is a big AoE boon converting to conditions, pulsing, very easy skill to place, very strong. We run Axe and Focus because the Scepter was nerfed too much and we don't even run the Curses straight line, so Scepter is not an option in my opinion. We run Axe for the skill 3, which is very good, and the skill 5, which is another very strong skill to remove boons. And then we run the Greatsword, which is always associated to damage, but here we just basically need the skill 4, which is an AoE pulsing, which also removes boons from enemies. Totally, they convert 4 boons to conditions if you hit every AoE, which pulls every 2 seconds. And then also the skill 5 is very strong, is a very strong pull, which is also able to pull enemies from the towers to the ground. So if you are sieging a tower, you can use your skill 5 on the enemies up here and you pull them down. Then your other skills, like this skill, you shouldn't be using it because you deal 0 damage. The skill 3 is some life force, so you can do it, and also it applies vulnerability, which is nice. The skill 1, if you have nothing left, you can use your skill 1 because it gives you some life force, and also it will chill enemies with the last chain of the out attack. In the video about the heal Scourge, which I posted like 3 months ago, I was running something like this. I don't run Blood Magic anymore because I think it's still very strong, but Transfusion can really be a double-edged sword, so it can really kill your allies, but I think if you use it properly it's still good. But still, if you have like 10 Scourges in the squad, you shouldn't be running Transfusion on all of them. So if you are in an organized environment, please consider having like 1 Scourge or 2 with Transfusions and the others running Soul Reaping build, Spite build, sorry, with these traits which you see here. So I still think Transfusion can be good to revive people, and also you should run maybe the Superior Rune of the Monk and with the Superior Relic of Mercy. But still, I would recommend, if you are more casual, you should run this build, which always works and has more Boonstrips. Now I would like to see a fight and comment it to help you understand how to play this build and how it works. If you are not interested in the commentary, you can skip ahead in this video and you will find the full gameplay, so you can see how it works without my commentary. So let's start. Okay, basically we clash in the enemies. I press almost off my skills. You see how much barrier I have, and also on my allies. The maximum barrier is half of your max HP, so keep in mind that you cannot exceed it. So this build will not heal allies, but still it will apply a lot of barrier on them, so making them almost unkillable. You see, I always have barrier. The HP pool is untouched on all of my party mostly. It's very strong. And also you have a lot of boon rips. You see how much alacrity I can pump. And also I had a Tempest, which I think gave me alacrity in my party, but I'm not sure. Here GS5 to pull, I failed it, and then GS4, you see it pulsing and boon stripping the enemy. I recommend using some barriers even if you are not fighting, like if you are in front of the enemies and you are about to clash, the enemy can do the ranged damage with like revenants and so on. If you use barrier, you can mitigate all of that damage. Okay, here I'm stuck, I'm almost dead, and immediately I get rebound and I get some barrier on me. Here we are regrouping, F1 on my allies to get some barriers. Also keep in mind that if your allies have a lot of conditions of them, you can apply barrier, and so the conditions will do damage on the barriers and the HP pool will be untouched. So you will give time to the true supports like secondary supports and firebrands to heal back your allies while your barriers do the jobs. So the ghastly breach should be used when the enemies are coming to you or when you cross them. And then here the enemies are about to die. Keep in mind that your F1 should be casted on you and on your allies and not on the enemies. Don't fear the loot bags won't be lost because you give so much support. You will hit everything and you will get credit for everything. Here I can press my skill 4 and the skill 5 F5 again. Pulsing AoE barrier, meaning pulsing alacrity and a lot of barriers on the enemies. Right now I am full barrier, so the fight is over here. Here we have another fight. Let's see it. So we run onto the enemies. Use your wells, your ghastly breach, which also clips downies. Use the serpent utility skills. And then your healing skill. You see how much barrier. Sometimes I overdo it and sometimes I think I wasted my barriers, so try to not waste your barriers because you cannot exceed the half of maximum health points. So even if you have 28k, keep in mind that most classes don't have those HP. So like DPS classes have like 18k, so 9k barrier is enough for them to cover them. So prioritize your allies instead of you. You will not die. As you can see, I'm always full health and like 5k barriers. Maybe it was the enemies which weren't good, but this happened all night, so I think this build can really work and shine with his Boonstrip and also some Condi cleanses, and most importantly the insane amount of barrier that it has. Okay guys, this is all for this video. Now I will leave you a long gameplay here, which is a series of clips I gathered from different fights, so you can enjoy how this class works and also see the situations, the various situations where it can shine or where it can be worse maybe. I hope you enjoyed it. Please consider leaving a like and subscribe for more content and to show me your appreciation. Thank you and see you on to the next video. Bye!